Okay, I'm recording to video now. So, someone who's doing a lot of spiritual work and following my instruction is now experiencing a blurry head and confusion in the head, and is getting the feeling that they run their life from their head, so it's difficult. And I have given suggestions on canceling beliefs, prayer, and feeling the feelings. Um, I would say if there's a lot of stuff in the head, like headaches and blurry vision and disorientation, um, what's happening there is the head is the belief systems that the head is in control is manifesting as a defense mechanism, creating blurriness and confusion. The ego is quite happy to kill you, so give you an accident or whatever. Um, so actually, for me, the things I would do, if it's too incapacitating, I'd watch the videos of this series, especially on pain or emergencies. There's two of them, dealing with shock emotions or pain. Listen to those and practice allowing the feelings. But I would actually start to do, obviously, these programs of you need your head. And if you don't use your head, you'll be confused and have blurry vision. Yeah, you're not really, these belief systems are running rampant. So I would do some heavy duty, I mean extremely heavy duty canceling around that, because obviously the ego is getting away with that. And feeling the feelings and listening to Hawkins is not really an effective way to delete those belief systems. Like, if you can, whenever you're able to, doing 2 or 3 hours of non-stop, I cancel my belief in blurry vision. I'm an infinite being subject only to what I hold in mind. I cancel my belief I need my head to run my life. I'm an infinite being subject only to what I hold in mind. I cancel my belief if I don't use my head, I'm confused. I'm an infinite being subject only to what I hold in mind. I cancel my belief in confusion. I'm an infinite being subject only to what I hold in mind. What does that all mean? It means you're only subject to beliefs you hold in mind. And you've obviously got belief systems which are operating, which is that you're going to be confused and blurry unless you use your head. That's a load of rubbish and Todd's wallop, to be polite. But how do you delete that? Will feel the feelings delete that belief? Not in my view, it's not really the right tool for operating and taking those beliefs precisely out. Feeling the feelings is more like releasing the energy. It's not really for deleting the belief systems. So if you've got a very strong belief system that's manufacturing confusion or blurry vision, what you want is cancel me. Now, well, if I say cancel beliefs for 2 minutes every day, will that work? Well, it won't really work. If the head's really attacking you, you really want to be doing some heavy duty stuff. I recommend, if you're not used to heavy duty canceling, doing like 4 20 minutes heavy duty sessions, like non-stop, 100 miles an hour, 20 minutes, 4 times a day on I cancel my belief in blurry vision. That will really start to attack your belief that confusion and blurry vision are things you're subject to. This is rubbish. These are your ego knows it can scare you with this stuff, and it is. And the ego is making you use the things that won't work. Feeling the feelings won't work in canceling that belief out. It's the wrong tool. Feeling the feelings will take out the confusion on a certain level, but it won't take out the belief. That's probably not explained really well. There's the energy and there's the belief system, which are slightly different. Feeling the feelings, allowing the feelings will often take out a lot of the energy impact, but not necessarily take out the precise belief, which can reinstall it. So you really want to be rather than, if you just use feel the feelings, probably you'll be suffering from blurry vision. Obviously, the head is dominating, that you need my head. Otherwise, I'll give you confusion and blurry vision and all this rubbish. So I would refute it.
Sorry, but if Hawkins mentioned that most illnesses are an expression of unconscious guilt and releasing the energy of unconscious guilt, you're
Yes.
saying the belief is operating differently from the energy. So how are they then still like a complex that are related to each other?
Well, they are related to each other. There is the feeling component, and then there's the belief, the program. So, in the context of a person who asks the question, I would say that because of the severity of what is happening, the ego will choose the mechanisms which is of least threat to diminish it. So, if there's two mechanisms, one is allowing the feelings. Every individual has a certain context and a certain way the expression is. So the feeling is like the guilt. You could say the guilt is the repressed feeling. The thought, the precise thought, is more like the program. You could dissolve if you're very advanced, you can dissolve the program through field of feelings. But in the individual who's asking the question, I would, it's obvious to me the ego is using field of feelings because it knows it won't be threatened. So obviously, then the one that individual I would suggest use because it will threaten the ego faster and delete it faster is canceling the beliefs. In another individual, the ego usually uses the mechanism which is of least threat to it and will say use that one. A different individual might say do feel the feelings because the
But
individual
then by canceling the belief, are you then also dissipating the energy?
by canceling the belief you are yeah, I see you see when a person asks me the question, I get an intuitive read of what's happening for that individual. So you're asking it in a linear fashion as if it's to all individuals. You see,
Hmm.
for some individuals, I would say the capacity to feel the feelings would still allow the belief to operate. And in some individuals, their capacity to feel the feelings and not engage in thought would actually delete the belief. So it'd be different for different individuals. In the individual that I was referring to, I can intuit that the capacity to do feel the feelings is not dissolving the thought. Some others would be able to dissolve the thought, utilizing only allowing the feelings. But in this individual, it's my intuitive read that their ego is escaping, dissolving the core belief because they're not effectively able to use feel the feelings to dissolve the belief. So in a different person, they might have mastered allowing the feelings to dissolve the belief. So you're asking it as if I would give the same answer to every individual. Generally, if you master feeling the feelings at an advanced level, you wouldn't need to cancel the beliefs. However, if you haven't mastered allowing the feelings and dissolving the thought systems at a radical level, then the belief system will still operate. So then I would suggest for that individual they cancel the belief as well. So
So you
uh,
would say mastering the field of feelings is the advanced, faster option of healing.
if you're able to do it, not everyone is able to do it. So you need to see where you're at. Each individual has different capacities to use them.
I
So
guess that's a topic for another video then, the
no, no, no.
mastering field of feelings.
I can talk on that. When the intensity is very, very ferocious, often just one technique will work because you're also invoking the miraculous fields. When there's a lot of ego belief systems and baggage in there, sometimes you might need to use both. I don't know if that's clear. So
Yeah.
sometimes if you're like absolutely ferocious and your supplication to divinity and invoking divine will is like so intense, sometimes either one will work because your intensity is so ferocious. It's like the miraculous is also operating. However, for another individual where there's a lot of belief systems, a lot of repressed feelings, and their ferocity is not so great, you might need to use a combination of both. So as a spiritual guide, I would recommend to that individual, because I can see what's happening, to utilize a combination. So the answer is different depending on the level of consciousness, the level of ferociousness, the level of earnestness. And sometimes what I'm saying, when the intensity is so great, you know, everything starts to work. Why does everything start to work when the ferocity and the purity of intention is so high? It's because it becomes beyond the field of utilizing a tool. Now you're invoking divine will, which more or less is reading your it's reading your supplication. So you're getting God's muscle come in at a very high level. It's just wiping stuff off. So whatever you use. So it's a little bit like what Hawkins said. Um, Sometimes just the Buddhists have this little thing they sort of swirl around, and it seems like that wouldn't do it, but it's the level of the intention and the devotion which invokes divine will. Now that's
Mechanically speaking, that would be like invoking an energy field.
yes,
That's
but that would be directly also correlated to the level of your intensity and the level of your devotion. So generally
mm,
speaking, 540, but if you're super intense, that would be more than 540, you see. Now, for someone who's not super intense and is not really devoted to a very high degree, they'll have, you know, their ego and their belief systems and their repressed feelings will be much more stronger. So as a spiritual teacher, I might recommend a series of things which I wouldn't say to someone who's super intense. So I'm trying to so the
kind of like you're diagnosing.
I'm diagnosing. So it's not a straight answer for every individual. I might give a totally different, you know, for another individual who's super intense, I would kind of recognize whatever they did would probably, it's not just the tool, but it's the level of their intensity will be devoking divine will. So everything will tend to work very well and it won't be so much. Whereas someone who's got a lot of resistance on a lot of levels might need to use a number of things. So it's a different answer depending on the individual. As was reported earlier in this thing, you know, sometimes when the divine will is invoked, it's the miraculous. It's not really what you're doing. It's because the intensity and the purity of the supplication is so immense that it's not really the tool that's doing it. It's the miraculous that's occurring, you know. So this is like, and also there can be things like the well, it's another video, but it can be also the intervention of angelic forces and things that are coming in and are giving you special aid. So it's not really at a certain point, it's the mystical. It's not really the prayers or the counseling or the field of feelings, but the purity of heart is invoking special help, shall we say, in certain contexts. So yeah, that's the answer, and that's a good question, and it's a good question to answer. I actually take intuitive reads when I answer a question to an individual, which might not necessarily apply to another individual. Advanced students and people who are more stuck in their stuff have slightly different answers to my thing. So yeah, it becomes more mechanical. And you're, as a spiritual teacher, you're intuiting what stage a student is at, and also you're intuiting what is the level of resistance of the ego. Generally speaking, at a low level of consciousness, the ego will pick tools which it feels safer won't threaten the ego, and will avoid doing things which are of great threat to the ego as an avoidance mechanism, so that the ego can carry on existing. Okay, so that's a great thank you. Thank you for all of that. And unless there was something else you wanted to say. Okay, I'll stop that video. Press stop.